Okay, good morning everyone, and we are now in a chapter 2 of Java programming. And last time we have discussed the different or the sample program using Java, as well as the different variables that you can use, the variable declaration and how to use variable, the different constant variable, the Java syntax. Not only that, we already have discussed as well some of the identifiers, comments in Java, some of the reserved words, and some of the arithmetic operators. Now, for today, we'll be having the constant again. This is some sort of review. So we have the constant and variables. When we say constant, that is a variable that does not change the value while the program is running. Let's say, for instance, dun sa inyong assignment, meron kayong mag-a-add kayo, uh, you will perform different operators or operations such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, and of course, division. Now, how can you add two numbers without having the constant value? So, in your case, di ba, kung meron kayo na number 1 and meron kayong number 2, dapat, para makapag-add siya, you have to have the uh, the the then the value. So let's say nilagyan nyo dapat si Vasinam 1 ng 60, and let's say po ito yung 30. Any value would do. So we have ito yung yung sa constant natin. And literal constant are value taken literally at its use. Meron tayong tinatawag numeric constant that is opposed to a literal constant. Ito yung numeric, ito yan. And unnamed constant is no identifier that is associated with it. Now, sabi natin, si variable is defined in a named memory location. So, lahat ng variable na ginagawa natin, yung number, yung yung A, yung B, it is located in a memory location that is used to store a value. Let's say, for instance, si number, nilagyan nyo ng 2, or sabi nyo, magkakaroon kayo ng variable na name, tapos inilagyan nyo siya ng, let's say, Myra. So, yan yung value niya. Ini-store ito dun sa ating memory that can hold one value at a time, and that value can be changed whenever you want to change it during the editing of code. We also have the different data types. The type of data can be stored. So, last time, meron tayong gumamit tayo ng int. Okay, we have double. Yun yung mga iba't ibang klase ng data type na pwede niyo gamitin. How much memory items it can occupy, and what types of operation can be performed on that data. We also have the different primitive types and the reference type. When we say primitive type, that is a simple data type, and the reference type are more complex data type. Now, these are the different constants and variable or keywords, and as well as the data types na pwede ninyong gamitin. We have the byte, that is a byte length integer, short integer. Integer, ito yung whole number. Ito actually ay mga whole number. Kasi integer yan yung pwede nyong gamitin. Kapag gumamit kayo ng mga decimal number, halimbawa, sabi nyo 20%, of course, hindi naman siya na-accept ni Java na 20%. So, dapat 0.2 yung gagamitin ninyo. Okay? Kaya dahil dyan, kaya siya 0.2, so ibig sabihin, floating point siya kasi meron siyang floating point or yung may decimal number. So, lahat ng gagamitin ninyo for a decimal number is a float or double. That depends on the situation, kung ano yung gusto nyo gamitin. And the character, ito yung mga A, B, yan, mga ganyan. Character that it's enclosed in single quotation mark. And of course, the Boolean type, which is can hold a value, the true or false. When we declare a variable, use naming rules for legal class identifier. So the statement that reserves named memory location for a variable declaration includes the data type, the identifier, operational assignment, and ending with semicolon. So let's say for instance, ito yung syntax niya. Let's see kung may syntax dito. Yan. Wait, ito muna, discuss muna natin to. Assignment operator, may equal sign tayo, have the right assigned to a variable on the left, initialization made with not declaring a variable, assignment made after the variable being declared, and associativity order when operands used with operators. So this is an example of how you will declare a variable. So the syntax is, always remember this is a syntax. When we are going to declare a variable, we have the data type, we have the variable name. I think ito naman i-discuss ko sa inyo last time. And the value. So, itong value na to ay naka-enclose in, pwede nyo i-enclose in this one, square bracket. It's because the value will always be an optional. Pwedeng meron, pwedeng wala. Pero kung hindi pa kayo mag-a-accept ng user input, you have to have a value for your variable, kagaya nito. Yan, this is an example. And this is also an example. So, declaring variable of different type must use separate statement for each type. Halimbawa, int, tapos nag-declare kayo ng double. Yan, tapos halimbawa, double rate is equal to 0.75. Yan, terminate. Now, pwede naman na isang ganito, isang line of code, naka-declare yung variable ninyo. Kung wala siyang, kung siya ay, halimbawa, lalagyan nyo siya ng value. Let's say, double rate is equal to 0.75. Kung gusto mo mag-declare ulit ng same variable, ay same data type but of different variable, you have to separate them with a comma. Comma, and then let's say principal is equal to 0.95. But make it sure na kapag siya ay ginamit mo ng pansinin ha, magkaiba yung ating variable, pero magkapareho siya ng data type. Ginagamit lang natin ito kung magkapareho siya ng data type na gagamitin. Did you get that? Okay. Declaring name constant should not change during program execution and has data type name and value. Data type preceded by a keyword final and can be assigned a value only once and conventionally given identifiers using all uppercase letter. Reasons for name constant. Kasi po, we make our programs easier to read and understand. Kasi, what if hindi ikaw yung magpo-program at iba? So, kinakailangan na meron siyang naiintindihan siya ng iba. Ganun din, if we want to change the value at one location within the program, and we would like to reduce typographical errors. Kasi, there are some instances that when we type your program or when you type your program, when you created your program, magkakaroon tayo ng mga typographical errors at yun yung mga iniiwasan natin. Of course, this is stand out as separate from variables. The scope of variable it is in the area in which it is visible to a program in which you can refer it using a simple identifier. Halimbawa, ito yung class mo. Class and then halimbawa stud, sabi mo. So, yung scope niya is within the curly bracket. So, laging ganun yun. Yun yung pinakang scope ng ating mga variable. A variable or constant is in scope from the point it is declared. So, dineclare ko niya rin, nag-declare kayo dito, int, sabi mo ay name. Tapos, naglagay ka nito, yan. So, ito, yung name na to can only be accessed inside that curly brackets. So, until the block of code in which the declaration lies. Yun yung sinasabi dito. Forgetting that a variable holds one value at a time. So, each constant can hold only one value. Always remember, ang inyong variable can hold only one value. kapag kayo nag-declare for a duration of the program. Switch value of two variables, you are going to use the third variable or yung tinatawag natin na passing value to a variable. Ito naman ay aaralin natin sa susunod na araw. Okay. Learning about your data types, ito yung mga integer natin. So, store integers or whole numbers. Yung value niya is from negative na ito hanggang dito. So, napakahaba po ng ating mga integer. Yan yung kaya niyang i-hold. Ibig sabihin, ito yung memory allocation na ibinibigay or memory location na ibinibigay sa kanya. And the variations of integer data types are byte, short, and long. Usually, ang ginagamit lahat lagi ay ito si integer. But then again, you have to choose appropriate data types for a certain variables. Depende yun sa inyo as a programmer. Like for this one, si byte, ang kanyang minimum value is negative 128. Ang maximum value is 127. Si short is negative 32,768 hanggang dito sa value niya. Si integer ito. So, which means to say, kapag gumamit kayo ng integer, yung kanyang value, ito yung nag-allocate siya ng ganito karaming value. Kaya sabi ko nga sa inyo, depende sa inyong kagustuhan kung ano yung ilalagay ninyo na data type sa kanya. And ito yung size in bytes. Kung mapapansin niyo si long yung pinakamalaki niyang capacity, followed by integer, and pinaka-small is a byte, of course. Si Boolean data type naman can hold either true or false. Pwede halimbawa Boolean, ganito, tapos false or true. Yun lang naman yung kanyang usually ginagamit siya pag compare ng dalawang items. We can also use these different operators. Ang tawag natin dito ay relational operator class. Relational operator. Kasi we use less than, greater than. So ito aralin kasama din siya sa ating pagpo-program. Kaya wag ninyo tong kakalimutan. Ito naman ay kumbaga ay basic na para sa atin. Floating point numbers, those are the numbers with a contained decimal positions. Halimbawa ay 3.51, 2.75, 38.25. Yan yung basta yung may mga decimal number, ang gamit natin dyan ay floating point or double. Usually, double yung ginagamit. That refers to a mathematical accuracy. So, this is the size in byte. Si double kasi, as I've said, malaki din yung size na kinukuha niya rather than the float. Pero usually, ang mga estudyante kasi, ito yung mga usual na ginagamit. Again, ito po ay depende ulit sa inyo bilang mga programmer kung alin yung gusto nyong gamitin. Working with the char data type, yung character, this is always in double single quotation mark, dapat yun yung kaating ginagamit kasi siya ay ang tawag dito ay character. The character data type hold a single character. So kapag siya ay naging MA, hindi na siya character, string value na siya. Lahat ng string value ay ini-enclose natin sa double quotation mark. Maliwanag po. Basta single character, single quote po siya. Halimbawa A, B. Pag string na po siya, ang gagamitin natin ay double quotation mark. Halimbawa ay word. Basta nakaano na siya or sentences. Yan, naka-enclose siya dapat sa double quotation mark. Okay? Working with the char data type. So, we always begin with backslash followed by a character for the escape sequence. Ito, ibig sabihin ito, new line. Ito'y accompanied or pwede rin natin gamitin at kung ayaw mo itong gamitin, pwede rin ito. Halimbawa, ginamit mo print, tapos nilagyan mo siya backslash n, terminate. Ibig sabihin yan ay new line po siya. Pero pag nilagyan mo po nito print, ln, yan, hindi mo na kailangan lagyan ito kasi may ln ka na dito. Ibig sabihin nitong ln is a new line pa rin. Maliwanag po? Okay, so these are the different escape sequence. Kapag gumamit kayo ng backslash b, ibig sabihin backspace, backslash t, tab, slash n, new line, slash r, carriage return. Yung carriage return ay yung ano, ganyan. Parang enter. Ito naman ay double quotation mark, ito ay single quotation mark, ito ay character. Okay, what's the difference between print and println? So, yan yon. So, ito ay merong nagka-create siya ng new line. Ito ay single line lamang in a combination of string. We can always concatenated values to string plus using the plus sign. Yan. Lagi nyo tatandaan, ha? And method can be accept number on a string. Okay. Itong si J option pane is one way of handling accepting users input. Kasi kapag gusto natin na mag-input, gumagamit tayo nito. Pero ngayon, ang gagamitan natin ay scanner. Marami kasi siya. So, we will be discussing one by one. Okay. Kapag gusto nating mag-input, kagaya nito, ito ay swing component. I will be having or I will be demonstrating this later on. Tatapusin ko lang itong discussion ko. We just need to use the J option pane kasi si J option pane nasa loob siya ni swing package. Gumamit tayo ng ating variable. Ito yung ating header. Ito yung ating declaring data types na meron siyang value na 30. So, always remember kapag mag-show tayo ng message, gumagamit tayo ng show message dialog. Kapag gusto nating mag-accept ng value, that input dialog ang gamit. So, later on naman, ipapakita ko sa inyo yun. Performing arithmetic, always remember we are using the PIMDAS. Okay, PIMDAS value. Halimbawa, ito yung parentheses, indices, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. So, ito yung ating, ito yung mga ginagamit nating operators. Ito yung ibig sabihin niya ay gumagamit tayo ng modulus or remainder. Ito yung for division, multiplication, subtraction, and addition. Okay, for operator precedence, yun yung rules for order in which part of mathematical expression are always evaluated. So, first, multiplication, addition, and modulus. Then, addition and subtraction. So, yun yung PIMDAS na sinasabi ko. Writing an arithmetic statements efficiently, you always have to avoid unnecessary repetition of arithmetic statements. Okay, kinakagaya nito, pareho lang naman siya. Anong pagkakaiba? Example of inefficient calculation. Kasi ibig sabihin, multiply, multiply, and multiply. So, wala. Ito naman yung example ng efficient calculation. Yan. Kumbaga parang we are trying our best para maging yung calculation natin ay kagaya nito, si gross pay. To compute the gross pay, we multiply hours and rate. Tapos to get the state withholding, we multiply the gross pay to state rate. To get the federal withholding, we multiply gross pay papunta kay federal rate. Hindi kagaya nito na isang diretsyo. So, inefficient yung calculation natin. And not understanding the imprecision of floating point numbers, always remember that integer values are exact, pero yung floating point numbers natin are frequently approximations. Imprecisions lead to the several problems like floating point output might not look like what you expect or want. Comparisons with floating point numbers may not want to be expected. Ito naman yung conversion ng numeric data type. So, ito naman ay halos na discuss ko last time. Yan, ito rin naman yung kanina sabi ko. Okay. Using the J option pane for a class GUI input. Gumagamit tayo ng mga dialog boxes to use accept input number, input dialog, and confirm dialog. To get an input from the user, we use show input dialog method. At siya ay merong 6 overload versions ng prompt message. So, ito yon. Kung gusto nating maglagay, halimbawa kagaya nito, what is your name? So, later on, magkakaroon tayo ng example sa mga yan para meron kayo mas maintindihan ninyo. Ano? Tapos, i-re-result niya to. So, mamaya, i-ano natin yan. So, ito yung mangyayari sa kanya. Sabi niya, what is your name? And then here, and then itatype mo yung, pag-click ng okay, lalabas yung sasabihin niya ay, ito, hello, and then yung pinakang result. So, later, magpapakita ko ng example. Ito yung kanyang mga arguments. Meron siyang parent component, message, title, and the dialog box. We always convert string to int or double kapag gumagamit na tayo ng mga tinatawag natin na pagkuha ng ating value pagkuha ng ating input sa ating keyword. In a show input dialog, ito yung kanyang parameters. We have the parent component, the message, the title, and the message type. Pag sinabi nating parent component, ito yung parent component nung sa dialog. Pag sinabing message, ito yung object na kinakailangan nating i-display. Parang kagaya nito. What is your name? Yan. Ano yung gusto nating i-display? Parang ganun. Yung title is the string display for the dialog box. Ito yun, yung pinakang title natin. Yan, title yan. At yung namang sinasabi na message type, ano yung klase? Error message ba ito? Information message? But then again, this is just a parameter. Pwede nyo itong i-bypass paminsan-minsan. Text type proper classes. So, we always, kumbaga, lahat kasi, sabi ko nga sa inyo, lahat ng ini-input natin kay Java is being treated as string. So, kung tinitreat siya na string, dapat po ay but if mag-input tayo ng ating tinatawag na numbers, kung numbers yung in-input natin, kinakailangan po na i-convert natin siya into something na maiintindihan na ni Java na kagaya nito. So, mamaya maiintindihan nyo siya. No rin yan. Ano? So, ito yung nakalagay sa confirm dialog. Yung confirm dialog, yung may nakalagay dito yan. Ito yun, yung okay at saka cancel. Minsan ay yes or no. Yan. Ito yung mga confirm dialog. So, meron tayong 4, yes, no, option, and cancel option. Okay, so ito naman si confirm dialog. Meron siyang 5 arguments. Meron siyang pairing component, may prompt message, may title, integer that indicates ano yung option na kailangang ipakita, and ano yung dinidescribe niya for the kind of dialog box. So, ito yun. Yes, no, yan. Yun yung pinapakita natin kanina. So, always remember, si option pane ay naka-swing na package. So, we have here yung mga parameters natin. Ito rin kagaya nung nandun sa pinaliwanag ko kanina. Ito naman yung mga iba't ibang klase ng message. Kapag error message, ito yung icon niya that displays the dialog that indicates an error to display an application to the user. Parang ganito. Ibig sabihin ito, yan, icon yan, X yan. Ibig sabihin error. Ito naman, kapag ganito yung nakita nyo, ibig sabihin, it displays dialog with an information message. Kapag ito naman ay warning, it warns an application for any potential problem. Ito naman, if you want to ask question, kaya siya ay question mark. And this is just a plain message. Wala kayong makikita na icon. So, later on, you will work with numeric values, accept user data, and performing arithmetic with a Java program. Always remember, don't attempt to assign literal constant in floating point number. Again, don't forget precedence rules, and don't forget that integer division results in an integer. Do not attempt to assign a constant decimal value to an integer using a leading zero, and don't use a single equal sign in a Boolean comparison for equality. And don't try to store string for a character in char kasi nga hindi siya character kasi string value. Don't forget that when a string and a numeric value are concatenated, it result to an expression in a string. Don't forget to consume the enter key after numeric input using the scanner class when a next line method calls. And don't forget to use the appropriate import statement when using the scanner or J option pane. Lagi po natin siyang ini-import kasi sila po ay mga Java package. So, in summary, ito yung variables natin, the standard arithmetic, the Boolean type, and the relational operators. Yan. So, user input. Ang user input kasi is more on interactive. Gusto kasi natin yung program natin ay much more of interactive rather than yung ginagawa natin ngayon. Halimbawa, binigyan ko kayo ng problem, tapos hindi siya kasi interactive kasi kayo ay kumbaga yan yung gagawin lang, yung naka input na siya. So we would like our program to be more interactive with the program by making the choices, entering data, and of course, viewing results. So, meron tayong stream that is flowing in or out your program. Kapag system.in ang gamit natin, it accepts data from the keyboard. So, ang method niya ay readline. Ang gamit niya ay keyboard or buffer. Pag system.out siya, so ibig sabihin, ang function niya is to send out the display or redirects to designated file. So, ang method na gamit niya ay print, printf, or flash. So, usually ito yung gamit natin. And yung device niya is a monitor. System.earth sends output to the monitor used for prompts and error message. So, using print and flash and always yung monitor device niya ang default. Usually refers to a buffered input stream. Input reader, IISR, that is a Java class or object that serves as an intermediary between the input buffer and the Java program. So, ito yun. Instantiation and constructions or constructors, that is a process of creating an instance from a previously defined class. We use buffer reader in a primitive class from a package input and output called the Java I/O. Actually, ito yung mga usual na ginagamit kapag nag-accept ng user input. Kaya lamang, medyo nahihirapan yung ibang estudyante kapag gumagamit ng ganitong constructor na buffered reader. Kaya ang ginagawa ko, I let them use the scanner. Kasi the scanner is more likely to, kumbaga parang siya ay, user-friendly, parang ganon. So, the code is necessary to instantiate a called constructor. So, ito yung makikita. The buffered reader here is a class. We have, yung data in niya is an identifier. So, pwede nyo gamitin dyan. This is a constructor, instant constructor. Buffered reader instantiating new class using the input stream reader that is reading data from the keyboard. Ito naman ay yung tinatawag natin na buffer. It handle data for a read line. The data will be moved from the generic data in location to a location with an identifier that is more indicative of the data itself. It must be declared before using, and if the string is a character, therefore it must be declared as such. Always remember to have a parse method using the convert input string to integer or double. Sabi ko nga, lahat ng ini-input ninyo kay Java is a string. So, kinakailangan para siya ay matreat as a number, kinakailangan na siya ay gumagamit tayo ng parsing method. So, kapag gumamit tayo ng readline, you must warn that the Java that there is a possibility of error. And kapag gumamit kayo ng nung ating buffered reader, kinakailangan na ginagamitan nyo siya ng throws IO exception. That is an easy way to keep the program from aborting prematurely due to the different errors. Kinakailangan i-add nyo siya sa main header. Now, kapag gagamit naman kayo ng scanner as the user input, ito yung ating pinaginagawa natin na package. Tapos, it is always accompanied by scanner, and then the identifier, ini-instantiate natin yung scanner into a buffer. Tapos, kinakailangan na yung data type natin to a variable, it always has a data type and a variable. Tapos, ito yung kanyang kaulang palagi, the scan.nextInt. So, whatever the data type is, halimbawa integer, ito nababago. Kapag dito ay float, ay double, of course, hindi siya int. Double siya dito. Ito, double yung gagamitin natin. Halimbawa, kagaya nito. So, kulang ng t. Yan. Int a is equal to scan.nextInt. So, whatever your data type here, nababago siya dito. Kunyari, ito ay ginawa nyong double A is equal to scan dot next double. Yun. So, hindi siya pwedeng in pa din kasi magkakaroon siya ng error. Kasi ito'y integer. Of course, ito'y integer. Ito'y double. Dapat ito ay double din. Okay? So, that's the end of our discussion. Magkakaroon tayo ng program demonstration. And after this, magkakaroon kayo ng create kayo ng sarili nyong program. Okay?